What is up, everybody? Football is back, and we are looking at 8 more matchups in the Week 1 slate. We've already been through, we recapped the Thursday night, and we went through the 7 matchups already in the first video, so check that out. And we're finishing up with 8 more. Every team's playing this weekend, so that is exciting. Brian, you ready for fantasy football and football in general to finally kick off?
Yeah. I'm totally pumped. Everyone's undefeated as of now. So
yeah, unless I don't know, I don't know. I guess no one really went off in Thursday Night Football to where you're already feeling defeated, or no one really super busted either, I would say, unless you started Sky Moore, who didn't catch a pass, unfortunately. But he had a carry.
Kadarius Toney also.
Yeah, I just assumed you weren't starting Toney.
Someone started Toney against me in one of my leagues, and I'm happy for it.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, Josh Reynolds. I made a little shorts video about a sleeper for each team, and he was mine for the Lions. I think he can have a pretty good impact, but he'll be a waiver wire guy that we talk about. But yeah, we'll get right into it. We're starting off with the Cardinals at Commanders. So this is the lowest over-under, I believe, of the week at 38. And the Commanders are favored by 7 points. So, Brian, what are you looking for with the Cardinals this week?
Well, I guess I'm trying to see if they were going to score more than 15.5 points that Vegas is saying they're going to score. Yeah, I mean, my notes for this was literally Cardinals total shit show ? And I guess what it kind of comes down to is James Conner going to be startable? We've seen Conner be startable when the Cardinals were bad. They obviously really love the guy. As long as he's out there on the field, like, they're gonna feed him the ball. Like, he's gonna get 20 touches a game. Like, they're gonna throw him the ball. They're gonna hand it off to him. He's gonna get the goal line stuff. Like, the dude's a machine. So hard not to start him. But how well are you gonna feel about starting James Conner after this week? I think is kind of the question that I'm looking to answer.
Yeah. The one optimism I have for him is, even when the Cardinals were a shit show at the end of last year, that was Connor's best weeks.
I know. He was better without Kyler and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I don't even know how that makes sense, but
yeah. So he's right at that RB2, the end of RB2 range. So I mean, James Conner, to me, I have him firmly ahead of all the guys he's kind of behind, like Jamal Williams. I think I'm going Conner. I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm not going to be surprised if people start Williams over Conner. Would you start Jamal Williams over James Conner?
Probably this week, especially given the status of the Saints backfield and everything. Like, I'd start Jamal.
Okay. And this is, by the way, we kind of base everything on half PPR, so what about Javonte? Are you starting? No, not Javonte. Sorry. Pacheco already played. Mostert. Raheem Mostert.
No, I'll start James Conner.
Okay. James Cook.
Conner.
Okay. So you're right around that. So he's probably going to be potentially a flex for a lot of people. So just looking at receivers, are you starting James Conner or Lockett, Godwin, DJ Moore? That trio?
I'd start the receivers. I would start Javonte Williams over James Conner, though. Like, I think he was kind of coming up on that list that you were talking about.
Yeah, running backs.
Yeah. I think I'd start Javonte just to throw my hat in that ring, I guess.
Okay. But all those receivers you're starting. What about Drake London, Mike Williams, Hopkins?
Mike Williams, yes. You said London and who?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of tough. Yeah, I think I'd start the receiver still.
So yeah, he's getting down there. He's getting closer to like in the 50s range. Okay, Connor or Jahan Dotson.
Oh shit.
With a healthy
um,
McLaurin, let's say.
yeah, with if McLaurin's there, I'm starting Connor.
Okay. So yeah, it's he's a tough decision at flex. I'd say. I think
Yeah,
he can be good even if this team really. I think he could get 4 or 5 dump offs. Carry the ball 15 times. So, only other person to really talk about on the Cardinals for Week 1 is Marquise Brown. He's listed as wide receiver 35. Does that feel right to you, Brian? Like still a top 3, wide receiver 3. Would you have started Sky Moore over Marquise Brown if you had that decision? Obviously,
I would have.
Thursday night
Yeah,
football. Yeah.
I would have started Sky Moore.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the rookies, Addison or Flowers?
Yeah, I think I'd start both of them over Marquise Brown. Honestly, is he even fully healthy at this point? Like,
he does have a question. He's questionable. Yeah, I'll look that up on their depth chart. I think
even assuming like total health, I'll throw the rookies in there instead. Honestly.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I think I'd lean Marquise Brown. Just learning my lesson from Sky Moore. Like, he does have a hamstring injury, so that is a little scary. So maybe I would lean the rookies there. But yeah, I think we spent enough time on this kind of shit show, like you said.
Yeah.
No one else you're starting. You're not starting the quarterback. You're not starting the tight end. No other receivers. So Washington, interesting. I think McLaurin and Dotson were both starting if they're healthy. I think that's a pretty safe bet, especially in 3 wide receiver leagues, unless you have an objection there.
Nope.
And then, yeah, it really comes down to like Sam Howell. You're probably not going to start in a single quarterback unless it's super deep. Kind of want to see what happens there, see how he plays, type of thing. Kind of treat him like a rookie in that sense. It really comes down to the running backs. We talked about them in the last video. But yeah, like Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, between those two and half PPR, Brian, who are you starting, Robinson or Gibson?
Yeah, it's tough. I think I lean more Antonio Gibson, just because I want it to happen so much. I think that Washington's going to be able to easily manhandle Arizona's offense in general.
Yeah.
Or they'll be able to outscore them anyways. I hope. Jeez. But I mean, I'm kind of hoping for a bounce back for Washington's defense too. Like maybe they weren't as bad as I thought they were last year, but I feel like 2 years ago, like they had like a lot of promise and they kind of shit the bed last year, at least early on, to where I stopped paying attention. So yeah, I think I'm going to start Antonio Gibson, even though I think Brian Robinson will help Washington kind of eat up the clock a little bit and just kind of, well, not eat up the clock, but kind of control the clock a little bit, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to put it all on Sam Howell's shoulders to like win the game for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I might lean Brian Robinson actually in half PPR over Gibson. Maybe in full PPR, Gibson definitely helps him a little bit more. But yeah, like Brian Robinson or Mostert, I think I'm taking Mostert. I think you're not as high on Mostert as I am, but who are you taking there, Robinson or Mostert?
Yeah, I think I would go Mostert. Yeah, it's a little tough, like with the half PPR. Yeah, and I think I'd go Mostert.
Okay, what about Brian Robinson or Khalil Herbert?
Khalil
It's
Herbert.
yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'd go Cleo too. Brian Robinson or Brees Hall?
I gotta go Brees Hall there. The
Yeah,
guy's gonna
I mean,
play. We've seen how he can play, so
mhm.
let's just hope for a little piece of that.
Yeah, he could outscore Robinson with 10 touches, and Robinson has 20. Like easily.
Yeah.
Um, and then Gibson, um, those same guys. You're not starting. Are you starting Gibson over any of those guys that I mentioned with the Mostert, Cleo Herbert, or Brees Hall?
Mm, no, I don't think so. It's kind of close with Mostert, I think.
Yeah. See, I think Mostert's going to have a big game just against the Chargers, high scoring
Yeah,
game. But they could use, like A Chain could be back or something. So who
that's
knows?
one thing that kind of worries me about in Mostert, like how they actually use him
Hmm.
is kind of like the big unknown, obviously. Like
Yeah.
so, I think he's a fine flex. But yeah, I mean, kind of like the same thing we're talking about with these other guys. So
Yeah. We'll move on. You're not starting any tight end for the Commanders, but um, Packers at Bears, over under 43. Bears are favored by 1. This was from a couple of days ago. Um, yeah, with the Bears, it's to me it's the running back rotation, and how does it look? Is it all Khalil Herbert? Is it more of a three-headed monster, two-headed monster? Who's the backup? And just really who plays on third downs or in 2-minute drills. It's really interesting to see kind of how it all shapes out. So you're obviously starting DJ Moore and Fields. No one else in the receiving room you're starting. Cole Kmet, if you drafted him, and you're probably starting him, but I mean, like I would start Chig, Dalton Schultz over Cole Kmet. I would probably start Gerald Everett over Cole Kmet. Um, and that's about it. I mean, like Kincaid, Dulcich, Hayden Hurst, I think I'd still lean Komet just because we've seen him.
definitely Higby. I don't. He's kind
Oh
of.
yeah,
He's got to
he's
be in
up
that.
there now.
Oh yeah.
He's like ranked tight end 8 according to Fantasy Pros. Um,
Just instantly.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with Komet. So yeah, I mean, we're not starting any running back besides Cleo Herbert. It'll be interesting to see. We kind of already talked about where we're at with Cleo Herbert. Like I think we're pretty comfortable in that. You know, preferably as a flex, but could pass him off as an RB2 for sure. Um, yeah, like Javante or Herbert. Did we answer that one, Brian? Who did you say you would go with there?
I might have answered it, and I might even have a different answer now. I think I'm going to go Javante.
Mm-hmm. Just to throw the upside potential.
Yeah, just like I don't know. I mean, like we saw him catch passes in the preseason. Like they're saying they're going to use him. Like the guy's healthy. I'm just going to trust him that he's healthy. And plus, we're playing the Raiders, so
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What about Herbert or James Cook?
uh, I think I might lean Khalil Herbert. I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah, I think I'd go Khalil Herbert. I really want to see what happens with James Cook in Buffalo. Like
Yeah.
how many times, like how often he's on the field. Like is he really essentially the workhorse guy without the goal line stuff? Like if that's
Mm-hmm.
what it is, like I'm starting him every week. Like
Yeah.
even with that caveat, but I just don't know like how they're gonna use him. And I'm kind of like I mean the same thing goes with Khalil Herbert too, but
I think
I
it's a
just
little
feel
safer.
yeah, a little bit. Even on a worse defense. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
can't fault you for starting Cook over Herbert though.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I do agree it's a little safer. So, but yeah, no one else. to start on this Bears team. So we'll get to the Packers. What are you looking for with the Packers week 1?
Well, there was DJ Moore, but you're starting him.
Oh, yeah. I thought I said that, but if I didn't, you're starting DJ.
You might have said that. Yeah, so with the Packers, obviously there's some question marks here, as it stands right now, Thursday night with the receivers. It seems like Dobbs has had a little bit more of a lingering issue than Christian Watson, who just popped up on the report today, I think, or maybe it was yesterday. But I mean, the main thing I'm looking for in this game in general is just kind of like Jordan Love in general. Like, how does he look? I mean, honestly, I'm not going to take much away from it if Watson and Dobbs are both out. And even if Dobbs is out, I'm still not sure how much I'm going to put into this game. I still think Aaron Jones is going to be the best guy on the team. I think the Packers offense will be serviceable, to say the least. But I just kind of want to see what Jordan Love looks like in a full game against a division rival. Not a tough matchup on both sides of the ball, like against the Bears. I don't think we're expecting them to put up a ton of points and to be a shutdown offense or defense rather.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I think Packers are pretty straightforward. Like, you're not starting Love. You want to see what happens. I'm out on Christian Watson with his hamstring this week. Like, even if they say he could play, he could just re-aggravate it and he's out. Like, I think you should have, I don't know, people were drafting him pretty high. You hopefully have you hopefully was your wide receiver 3 at best, and you have options. So I think I'm just kind of completely I don't want to mess around with a hamstring. Now with Dobbs, I think because he's practicing, we'll see tomorrow. At least he's practicing. I'm a little more optimistic, but again, probably not starting Dobbs either. You kind of want to see what happens. Same with the tight ends. You want to see what happens with those tight ends. Are they used? We want to see it happen with these rookies. It's Aaron Jones, really, and I'm not starting A.J. Dillon. If you're starting A.J. Dillon right now, I think something's wrong with your team, to be completely transparent. I don't know. He's ranked as RB 36. I think that's fair. I look at the guys he's ahead, Charbonnet, Algier, Damian Harris, Penny. Okay, I'm fine if you want to start Dillon over those guys, Mitchell, Warren. At least you kind of know what you're going to get with A.J. Dillon. Which I just don't think he's very good. But yeah, I think if you're kind of starting him already, there's some issues with your team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are going to be starting him, especially as a flex. He was basically going in rounds 8 or 9, probably 9, maybe 9 or 10 is more accurate. Mm-hmm. But I think there's going to be some teams that are starting him as a flex for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think most, even if it's 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a flex and a tight end, that's 7 spots, right? In a 12-team league. So you're looking at 84, the top 84 guy theoretically. And yeah, he's right there, I guess. He's 81 ranked. So yeah, I would lean a receiver. Just looking at a couple Juju over him. I would take Jacoby Myers over AJ Dillon, even Van Jefferson, I think, at this point. So
Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. I mean, he's could catch. He could do what he did last year, and I read that off in the last video. He averaged more points than freaking Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Why aren't we drafting Jacoby Myers in the second round? I'm just kidding, but no, I think I'm just not a Dillon guy. I just don't think he's very good. I really don't. I think he's the most expensive handcuff in the history of fantasy football. So, but yeah, I guess we'll move on. Raiders at Broncos, over under 44 points. Broncos are favored by 4, surprisingly. Tells you a lot about the Raiders. Yeah, I think with the starting with the Broncos here, I just like, are they better than last year? They have to be better than last year, but like, have they improved to the point of like you can actually start some of their players? Um, because I'm worried that it's just another shit show this year. So in terms of who I'm starting, like I'm not starting Russell Wilson. Like I'm sure people do have him as like their QB1. Maybe a couple people, I don't know. Like if you had a draft that just went super quarterback heavy, but like I'm starting Aaron Rodgers over him. I'm starting Richardson over him. Goff, Jones. Okay, Derek Carr and Russell Wilson, like whatever. Like if those are your two options, like to me, it's like a flip a coin in that point. And then the receivers, like yeah, like Judy, if he's healthy, I would start Sutton. If Judy's not there, I would start. What about if Judy's healthy? Are you starting Sutton? Are you still comfortable with Sutton, Brian, or what are you feeling there? Like,
I mean, based on where you drafted him, probably like starting him anyways, like as a flex. Like, I think he's fine. Like, he's kind of like one of those guys. Like, he's like a fringe, like startable guy. Like, just in general, like you probably didn't necessarily like draft him to be a starter, but like I know his ADP got pushed up a little bit because of the Judy scare. So I think you're starting him, even if Judy plays.
Yeah, if Judy plays, like I'll take Pittman over Sutton. What about like Judy plays? There's Antonio Gibson or Cortland Sutton? I think that's a pretty tough
Judy
one.
plays. Yeah, I'll take Sutton.
Brandon Cooks.
Cooks.
Okay. Marquise Brown, you're Sutton, right? I assume.
Yeah, I don't like Brown.
Yeah. Gabe Davis or Sutton if Judy plays.
I like Gabe Davis for the upside.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But yeah, the running backs, I think we're gonna start Javonte. Like he's just one of those, like you kind of have to start. I think like you don't want to miss out unless you're just kind of loaded at running back. But you know he's listed as RB29. Like I think he is a lot of people's third running backs, and yeah, well, Javonte or Brees Hall. Who are you starting between those two?
I'll start Javonte just because we saw a little bit more in the preseason.
Yeah. Any receiver in this range, like a Brandon Cooks, again, Pittman, you know, these guys we've been talking about. Any of those guys would you start over Javonte, or you rolling with Javonte?
Yeah, I think I'm sticking with Javonte.
Samaje Perine is intriguing. I actually think he could be like pretty good this year, even without a Javonte injury. Probably not going to start him. I mean, you could maybe get away with flexing him, but he's one of those, like, I kind of want to see how it's all going to shape out. But, you know, this could be the 1 week where you do start him because Javonte's coming back from the injury type of thing. So he's, like, fine to me as a flex. More in PPR. I think he'll catch a few passes. So, but, yeah, what about the Raiders? What are we looking at with these Raiders? Anything exciting?
Oh, God. First of all, boo Raiders.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing exciting to talk about, honestly. Like, you're starting Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, like, and that's it. Like, I guess continuing with the tight end theme, like, do they use Michael Mayer, the rookie tight end, like, in any kind of capacity where we think that he's startable, you know? Like, I don't know what to do with Jacoby Myers versus Hunter Renfrow. Like, I mean, I haven't thought about starting Hunter Renfrow for about like 2 years, you know? And even then it was like, am I really starting Hunter Renfrow? And somehow he's like wide receiver 18 or whatever he was that year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not starting any of those guys. Like, I don't. There's nothing to get excited about. Like, I guess you're watching to see if Jimmy Garoppolo can complete a pass to Devontae Adams, which he definitely can. Devontae Adams is going to be just fine. Josh Jacobs is going to get all the work on the ground and some through the passing game. So I don't know. I'm just not excited about this at all. Start Daniel Carlson. I don't know.
Yeah, the kicker. It's Jacobs, it's Adams, probably no one else. I mentioned unless you're down between AJ Dillon and Jacoby Myers, I'll take Jacoby Myers, but you're probably not starting Jacoby Myers either, unless you're in a pretty deep league. So they're really easy because they suck. So we can just kind of move on to the next game. Dolphins Chargers. I think it's the second highest over under behind the Chiefs Lions game. Which hit the under, by the way. So 51 is the over-under, -3. Chargers are favored by -3. I'm mostly a couple things here as a Chargers fan. Quentin Johnston, is he really the wide receiver 4 behind Palmer? Or are they going to try and get him in there a little bit more as like the wide receiver 3? And then is there anyone who we can potentially target as a handcuff to Eckler? They've been kind of trying for years now, haven't found anyone. Maybe it's right now it's probably Josh Kelly, but there's no confidence in that whatsoever. So you're starting Herbert, you're starting Keenan Allen, you're starting Mike Williams, I would assume.
Probably starting Gerald Everett too.
Yeah, unless if he was your clear backup, then no. If you took one of the main guys, but yeah, like if it's Everett versus Komet or Everett versus Chig or Juwan Johnson, like I'll take Everett just because I think I know what I'm going to get. There's not as much upside, I think, but I think I know what I'm going to get. He could catch a couple touchdown passes. There's always that with tight ends for any tight end, really. You're starting Eckler. That's about it. Like Chargers are easy because they're a really good offense, so you're just pretty clear that you're starting all these guys. Anything you want to mention on the Chargers that's like, I don't know, that you're a little nervous about, or like, are you lower on Mike Williams or?
No, I am totally good with starting all those guys. Like, yeah. I mean, the theme has basically been like, oh, when these guys are healthy, you start them. It's like, well, yeah. I was going to say everyone's healthy right now, but that's not actually true because we're missing like 4 first-round guys or something like that right now, like in general. But you start them all, like throw them in there. They'll be good.
Yeah, and this is week 1. So we're taking the approach of like, we assume you draft it. If you just like stack that receiver and Mike Williams is your wide receiver 5, like, okay, like it depends on your team, of course, but like we're just kind of going on basically where he was drafted in that 5th, 6th round, which is a starting range, and it's week 1, so you're kind of just going with your starters. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more interesting as the weeks go by, and if you have like specific things, you can always leave a comment and just kind of say like, who do I start between these guys, and we'll definitely get to you. But with the Dolphins, what are you looking for with the Dolphins?
It's that run game, man. Like, I'm not looking at Tua or the receivers. Like, I couldn't even tell you, or maybe I actually can tell you, like, who the tight end for the Dolphins is. Isn't it like Durham Smythe or something like that? I remember seeing that not too long ago. I'm like, who the hell is that? Me and Dad were talking about him. But yeah, no, it's all about the run game. Jeff Wilson's on IR. So it's just Mostert, A-Chain practice in full. So let's see what the split looks like. Like, we kind of said in the off season, A-Chain, he's smaller, he's faster. Like, what is he gonna do? Like for this team, like, can he contribute right away? And he seems to like fit the bill pretty well, like of the team, just like extremely fast just in general. So I think that makes the Dolphins like a really dangerous team to play against in general. Like between Waddle and Hill and now A-Chain, it's kind of like you don't even need to like throw down the field necessarily. Like you can throw everything at the line of scrimmage and like just see what breaks off. Like these guys are so quick.
And even Mostert's really fast too. He ran faster than Waddle. Like a low 4.3. I think A-Chain was the high 4.2s. Yeah, pretty. Sorry, did you have something else to say?
No, just that's about it. Just they're super like quick team, and the running back splits. I think it's going to be the interesting thing.
Yeah, another easy team because they're really good offensively. Like Hill, Waddle, obvious. I mean, even Tua, I would say, is probably a pretty obvious start in my opinion. I mean, like if you took Tua and Cousins. Which one are you leaning there?
I'll start Tua.
Yeah. Tua or Geno? Who are you leaning? I assume you don't have both these guys, but maybe some people do. I don't know.
Yeah, you might. I mean, you could have easily taken one of those guys if you were nervous about Tua. I don't know why you're drafting Tua, like if you're nervous about him, but at the same time, like he was kind of in that range, like honestly, like my coworker, he did a draft where he said it went super heavy on quarterback, but in the last round, he was trying to decide between Dak and Tua as his QB2. And I was like, who else went? Like, what do you mean there was? I didn't get like the full breakdown, but I don't know. Some people are pretty low on him. It was a 12-team league too, and like he said there were multiple backups taken, so I don't know. But yeah, no, you're definitely starting Tua over Dak. I think like that's a real coin flip there. Like I think Dak, like I think the Cowboys are going to own the Giants this week, but maybe not necessarily through passing. So I mean, just go with Tua there, but like it's close. Either one's fine.
Yeah, I think it could be a pretty high scoring game. But yeah, just to touch again, I know we mentioned Mostert a lot in previous matchups. Just to kind of put a final stamp on it, like I would start looking at Mostert. Like I would definitely start him like over basically everyone he's ahead of. I would start him over Cook, Brian Robinson. I think I'm starting him over Javonte, Khalil Herbert, Breece Hall. I would have started him over Pacheco. I'll start him over Jamal Williams, and I might even like consider. I would think about both Connor and Dameon Pierce if I'm starting Mostert over them. I just think like with A-Chain, like I think it's actually more Salvin Ahmed that could have more of a cut into Mostert than I think A-Chain's gonna like he has his plays at the beginning of the season, and this is what it's gonna be like. We're gonna give you these 4 or 5 touches, and it's going to be specifically designed for you. And yeah, he could bust off like a 60-yard touchdown, but it could be super hard to rely on. I think it's going to be Mostert's going to get 20 carries, and he's going to catch a couple balls as well. And he's playing the Chargers, and I'm pretty high on Mostert this week. So
I don't blame you because we have seen him involved in the passing game, like in Miami too. So like. That's another thing. It's like he can like catch the ball like easily, like just because they don't use them necessarily like in that way, like. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the split for sure.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at he had that stretch before Jeff Wilson came over to Miami last year, 15 carries, 18 carries, 14, 16, 14. And he basically caught average about two catches a game in those. So you're looking at 17 plus touches, and I just think he's going to pretty easily average 4 yards a carry, 4.5. So, but yeah, we'll move on to Eagles Patriots. Over under is 45. Eagles are favored by 4. Brian, I'll let you start with the Eagles. Is there really anything? I guess there is one big question, but But
I
what are you
guess,
thinking? What are you looking?
yeah, probably the running backs. You know, like
Yeah.
that's kind of the question. Like, who does actually start? Is it just a three-headed monster? Is it a four
Yeah.
or five-headed monster? You know, like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to even think about these guys right now. Like, we're just gonna have to like see it. And honestly, like, I feel like the Eagles' backfield is one of those ones like I'm almost like completely out on as far as like at least as far as like Swift and Penny go. Just like where you have to draft them. I guess it's not as useful now that the season started, but like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's kind of like, yeah, take Kenneth Gainwell when you're in the 18th round or whatever, or the 15th round, and if that works out for you, awesome. But like, I just don't see it being like anywhere like where I feel good about starting any of these guys. Like even like at least for like 5 weeks, and then at that point, it's kind of like, do I still even have them on my team?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I think Swift was drafted kind of right in that range where there's going to be people that, right in that flex range of like, in my opinion, like he was going right there. So are you saying you just wouldn't start Swift at all and kind of wait and see how it is, or like, I don't know, like a Swift, or would you have started Swift or again one of the rookie receivers in Flowers or Addison?
I'd probably start. I think I'd start the receivers.
Okay, I think I might lean Swift there. Just like he's gonna get touches. Like at least I know he's gonna get something. Like
Yeah.
I don't really know with Addison and Flowers like how much they could get 3 or 4 catches. Like I know Swift's gonna get a couple catches, and thinking at least like 7-8 carries. That's kind of like bare minimum in my opinion. So, Swift or AJ Dillon?
I'll start Swift.
Swift or Juju?
I think I like Juju there.
Safer.
Yeah, kind of. Like I'm just really not sure like what this game's going to be like. You know, like Bill Belichick is like the master schemer in general, so it's kind of like I can actually see this game like being like pretty close and pretty slow. Actually, like if the Patriots defense can put up a couple of stops, like I think they can eat up the clock pretty quick.
Yeah. So then in that case, we're probably not starting Penny, I would say. Kind of wait and see there. Like you should have better options. And then AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Goddard, you're starting all those guys. So
yeah.
But on the flip side, the Patriots, you're starting Ramondre. I think we've kind of made it clear we're okay with Juju as like that 3 receiver and a flex starting rosters. Like I think Juju fits in easily as like a flex there, a wide receiver 4. I think he's going to just give you kind of a safe floor, in my opinion. Like if you need a safe, solid points, if you kind of have some unknowns that you're starting, like I'd start Juju over Gabe Davis, over the rookies, over Michael Thomas, over Treylon Burks, even over Brandon Cooks, Pickens. Like I'm getting into like the top 30 range. Like I'd go at that high if you just want a safe, 10 points or something like that. Like, 9.5, 10 points in half PPR. And if you want a little more upside, then start those guys. That's kind of where we're at with Juju, I'd say. And Zeke, are you starting Zeke?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Just had to check. He could get a couple touchdowns for sure, but not don't start him week 1. It's basically Ramondre and Juju, in my opinion. Like, there's really no one else. Like, I think Hunter Henry could become like a starting caliber tight end, but I wouldn't start him week 1, and you're not starting Mac Jones. So, pretty easy. Both those teams, I'd say. Anything else on the Patriots? I know I didn't really give you the chance to talk. So if you want to say something about Any of those guys?
No, no. I think you wrapped it up pretty well.
Okay. We'll get on to the Rams and Seahawks. 46.5 is the over/under. Seahawks are favored by 5.5. Go ahead, Brian. I'll let you start with the Rams.
I mean, yeah, like the big question is, what do the Rams look like without Cooper Kupp? You know, like especially if the Rams put Cooper Kupp on IR, which obviously like if they need to, they should because they have no offense really going for them without him, which we kind of saw last year, and honestly, not much of an offense with him. Like I just think that I'm not gonna like get super excited about Van Jefferson. I'm definitely gonna start him as a wide receiver 3/flex. But I think the more interesting thing is going to be like is how involved are the running backs in the passing game? I guess like is Cam Akers going to get the ball a little more? I don't think they're going to just lean on Van Jefferson and Tyler Higbee necessarily. Like I just think that Akers and I know they kind of been talking of who's the second year guy? Is it Kyron Williams?
Yeah, the backup Kyron Williams.
Yeah. So yeah, the second year running back there. Like I know they've been kind of like talking about him a little bit as the pass catcher guy. Like so, I think just seeing how that split is going to be kind of interesting to see if Akers is like actually because like if he's like startable like week to week without like no question, because we think he's going to be the number one there, and I mean, and he should be, but is that even worth it? Kind of a thing is the question.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting team. Van Jefferson, we'll get to some like who we'd start him over here in a second, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of like when Josh Palmer was thrust into the number one wide receiver for the Chargers last year, and it was kind of like, oh, we expected more. He had a couple good games. He had 2 games with over 100 yards in that stretch. He was getting double-digit targets a lot, but he also, during that stretch, with getting double-digit targets, like 9 for 57, 3 for 44, 5 for 56. It was kind of like disappointing to a certain extent, and I don't think this team's going to throw as much as the Chargers were throwing, so it kind of feels like he's the number one receiver, but that doesn't mean he's just going to be Cooper Kupp, obviously. It's not how it works with receivers. So, okay, Van Jefferson or Jacoby Myers?
Van Jefferson.
Elijah Moore or Van Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Treylon Burks, Zay Flowers, Addison. Are you starting him over those guys?
I think the rookies are like a little bit more intriguing, but I think Jefferson's like the safer play. So take that for what you will. But I think I'd start Zay Flowers as my wide receiver 3 over Jefferson just to see what happens.
Okay. What about Gabe Davis? Is that kind of where it starts to stop?
Yeah, I'd take Gabe Davis.
Marquise Brown?
Jefferson.
Ooh, man. I kind of like think of them as like the same in the sense of like Marquise Brown, I think, is more talented, but they're just in a shittier quarterback and offense. But Van Jefferson, like they're both the ones. One has a shittier offense but is better, and one has a better offense but is not as good. It's kind of a weird like mixture. I'd probably still leave Marquise Brown there. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I think you froze there for a second, but yeah, I think like he could just be like a solid, 5 for 60, and then the occasional touchdown here and there while Kupp is out. But But yeah, what about Akers? Like, I feel like Akers, if you drafted him, it was because you needed an RB2, like where he was going, right? Like that's kind of what it felt
Yeah.
like. Like if you went running back heavy in the first few rounds, you wouldn't have taken Akers. So I feel like you're just kind of starting Akers because he's most people's RB2.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah. I mean, like, I felt like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but like, I felt like he was kind of being drafted around where Javante Williams was. Like, you got the discount on Javante because the injury and all that stuff. But Akers was like, well, he's still there and he's going to be like the guy on his team, kind of, and it's kind of like, I think I would start Javante over Akers, but I feel like they were taken for similar reasons, kind of like what you're saying, as
yeah.
like RB2s, like with that plan, with going receiver heavy, I guess.
Yeah, it was in that Akers, Connor, Cook, Javante range is where he was going in like that mid to late fifth round. So yeah, I just feel like if you did take him, it was because you went at that point you had 3 receivers or 2 receivers and a quarterback or a tight end, and you're just like, I need an RB2 here. So I
Yeah.
would say start Akers for the most part. I don't think we really need to. Most people are in the position where they're starting him. And Higbee, I think, is like a smash play.
Yeah.
Stafford, no. No. Not without Cup. I mean, even with Cup, I'm saying no. So without Cup, for sure. But yeah, Higbee, for sure. I'd start Higbee over Evan Ingram. I'd start Higbee over Njoku. Like, if you're in this position, Freiermuth. Like, you're probably not, but I think I'd start him over those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So the Seahawks, obviously it's the running backs. Like, what's the splits here? How does it all play out? With Charbonnet and Ken Walker. I don't think you can start Charbonnet this week. It's just too risky. I would still start Kenneth Walker. Like, again, I think he's so explosive that even with minimal touches, like he can have he's kind of like a Breece Hall coming back from the injury. Like, even with 12, 14 touches, he can do a lot. So I think it's pretty clear. Like, we're starting Kenneth Walker if you drafted him. You're starting Metcalf and most likely Lockett, I would say. And then we talked about Geno. Like, at this point, we talked about a lot of these guys. Geno over Richardson if you drafted those two together. And I don't know. What would you do? Like Geno Cousins? Did we talk about that?
No, I think we compared those guys to Richardson. I think I'd start. I mean, like you said, we probably don't have both of those guys. Like, I don't know. I think I'd start Cousins.
Yeah. Yeah. You probably don't have both of them, so you're most likely starting Geno in a 12-team league and one quarterback. If you have him, then I mean, Charbonnet, we're not. And what about JSN? Like, any interest in JSN, or do you want to wait and see there?
No, I mean, the guy had a broken wrist like 2.5 weeks ago or something. Like,
Yeah.
And that's not the only reason. I mean, I wouldn't be starting him necessarily, anyways. I mean, he's in that same range as like the other rookies and stuff. It's like, honestly, like I think I'd rather start Addison or Flowers like over him, just because I think like those two have a better chance of being like a bigger piece of their offense. And maybe that's just that's kind of just a hunch.
Yeah,
I guess, just out of necessity, because we saw the Seahawks be good without JSN last year, so they don't necessarily need him to be like this amazing guy. To like kind of not that the other teams do necessarily, but I just think that less is expected of JSN to start off with.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, we can kind of move on. We got 2 more games for you guys. Cowboys at Giants. is the next one. 46.5 is the over/under. Cowboys are a -3 favorite. Brian, you said you think the Cowboys are going to smash. I'll kind of start. I think the Giants are super, super easy. I'm not starting any of the receivers. I have drafted one. I took a shot on one of them, Hodgins, a Wandale, Shepard, a Slayton. I think taking a shot on one of them was fine, but you got to wait and see what you got. I think most people are starting Daniel Jones, although he was drafted as more of a, in that 13 overall, so right in that QB2 range. So I would, if you drafted like Jones and Cousins, I'm taking Cousins. Jones or Geno, I'm taking Geno. I think I'm going to agree with you with, I think, Anthony Richardson as well. I think this Cowboys defense could really give Daniel Jones some problems.
Yeah. Micah Parsons is going to be all over him.
Yeah. But Saquon you're starting, and Darren Waller you're starting, and the receivers you're going to wait and see. So that's basically it for the Giants. But for the Cowboys,
no love for Paris Campbell. You didn't even say his name.
There's so many of them on there. I can't freaking name them all. I always forget one.
He's the one slot guy, 1A slot guy. Yeah, whatever.
You could only have, I guess you could have 2 slots. Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. But any receiver on the Giants roster, essentially, I would, just keep an eye out because one of those guys could hit.
It's good to have one of them at the end of your bench.
For sure. And you cut them after week 1 or 2 if they do nothing.
Yeah, if they do completely nothing, yeah. But if they show a little bit, it's like I feel like they're going to be like a hard one to start unless it is kind of like was it Slayton for the last few years for the Giants? Where it's when he plays, dude gets
Shepard
the game. Oh yeah.
Shepard. Yeah. But Hodgins for a good stretch last year had he was a top 20 receiver. So there could be value there, but again, you're not starting them this week, and that's kind of what we're focusing on here. So with the Cowboys, what's interesting?
Tony Pollard's role. Is there a running back 2 there? Is it Rico? Is it? It's not Malik Davis anymore.
Yeah.
Is Ronald Jones going to play? Oh no, he's suspended, huh? Not that I give a shit about Ronald Jones, anyways. As a Tampa Bay fan, especially. I'm just wondering, is there any obvious number 2 guy, and is there anybody getting is it 70% Pollard or even if it's 60% Pollard, and is it 40% 3 other guys, or is there any one guy behind Pollard? I think that's kind of the interesting thing to watch for, because I think we've already seen that the Cowboys seem pretty comfortable with going into the season with Pollard as their number 1, but are they gonna I don't think he's gonna rush for 15 to 20 times a game. He'll get 15 plus touches, but I'm just kind of curious to see how they actually use him.
Yeah, because there's value in if there is an RB2. Look at Zeke last year. There was value in Zeke despite what we all think. Zeke had some value. I forget exactly where he finished, but I want to say he was a top 20 running back last year, which kind of just shows you you really need the big. Yeah, he's RB19 and half PPR. Half point, and that was with missing 2 games, so and putting up a 1 point at the end. Yeah, so shows you a lot about running backs, but I agree there could be some value there. But Dak from where you drafted him, you're starting. CeeDee Lamb, you're starting. Tony Pollard, you're starting. The only 2 questions I think for week 1 in terms of starting is for Jake Ferguson. We'll start with him. Are you? Jake Ferguson was being drafted as in the 20s in terms of tight end, so you should have someone more highly drafted. But where are you at with him? Are you over Cole Kmet, Everett, Kincaid, Dulcich, or would you start Ferguson?
Yeah, over Dulcich over Komet. I don't know. It just feels so weird to like rank tight ends. It's kind of like I mean, I'm starting Jake Ferguson in our dynasty league where I have Travis Kelce. So there you go. I mean, it's fine to start him, like, but I don't know. Like, I can't really necessarily say start him over Komet or vice versa. I personally would. I just feel like Ferguson has a better touchdown potential over most of those guys you just said. So,
yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't even mind over like a Juwan Johnson or Chig Okonkwo. Like, if you want to start him, or even a Dalton Schultz, like even that high, I think he could be a top 12 guy. I really do. So
yeah.
And Brandon Cooks is probably the other guy that we need to touch on. I know we have mentioned it quite a bit in comparing other guys, but yeah, like any like Brandon Cooks, I'm just looking at like over George Pickens. What would you do there?
I'll take Cooks.
Yeah, I was gonna say we may have mentioned that. It's hard because like I'm just looking at the list. Like I'm not starting him over. I mean, Ayuk, Evans, Deontay, Kirk, Sutton. It's tough. Like Sutton, maybe if Judy's there healthy, but I'd probably still lean Sutton.
I'd start Cooks over Sutton if Judy was there.
Okay. Just more, expect more out of the offense.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So yeah, he's in that wide receiver. I think he's pretty. I think he's if in a start three receivers, he's probably at least a flex in that type of format. But yeah, we'll anything else with this game? I think two straightforward teams. We got one more, the Monday night game. Want to get into that?
Yeah, let's move on.
So 46.5 is the over-under. Bills are favored by 2.5. So yeah, the Jets, obviously with the running backs, we want to see what's it really going to be like to start the season at least. I'm still starting Breece Hall most likely in most situations, and I'm probably going to not want to start Dalvin Cook. I don't know. It's a tough one. Like I said, I don't have Dalvin Cook or Breece Hall really, but I feel more comfortable with Breece Hall than Dalvin Cook in a weird way. But then they're talking about they're going to mix in Michael Carter too. So, like, I know we talked about Breece Hall a bit, but just to kind of go over it, did we do like a Breece Hall or Antonio Gibson? I think we may have, but
I don't know if we went that far. Are they?
They're back to back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I would take Breece Hall over there, but as far as like Breece Hall versus Dalvin Cook, like, or if you're even starting Dalvin Cook, it's kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to start either one of them this week. Like, yeah. I understand like you might have to, and I guess that's fine. But I mean, I guess I don't know the Bills' defense that well as far as like against the run and everything, but like I know they're a good defense in general. So
yeah, I think they're kind of like middle of the road. Yeah, it's tough with Breece Hall because you drafted him as a starter, but you might not be able to start him this week. Yeah, I would start him over Gibson. What about Khalil Herbert? I feel like we mentioned that one, but
I feel like you're drafting Breece, like you drafted Breece Hall, like not expecting to start him week one, like, even though you in a range that would say you're going to start him, but like I feel like you kind of took him for the back half, like so. I don't know. Maybe stick to that plan unless like things really fell apart. But you said Breece Hall or who? You said Khalil Herbert.
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there. James Cook or Breece? Did we just say that one? Breece Hall, James Cook.
Jeez. I think I'll go James Cook.
Yeah. Man, that's tough. I really don't know. I'd have to think about that one. I guess I'd lean James Cook just because of the whole Michael Carter stuff too. Like he could get the most freaking snaps on this team week 1. So because Dalvin Cook was also coming back from an injury. Like Breece Hall returned before Dalvin Cook. So, but yeah, you're starting Garrett Wilson, and I don't really want to start anyone else at receiver. You shouldn't be starting Lazard at this point. Like again, something went terribly wrong in your draft. Tight ends you're not starting. Rodgers is fine. Like again, I'd start Rodgers over like a Daniel Jones. I'd start Rodgers over. That's probably about it in that range, to be honest.
I think Rodgers, like, I mean, like, I think the Jets are going to have to keep up a little bit. Like, I know their defense is pretty good, but so is Buffalo's. So I think it's going to be, like a semi, like, low-ish scoring game. And, like, from two offenses that we're actually like, expecting a lot out of. So it'll be kind of interesting to see. Like, I don't necessarily see it turning into like a shootout, but like, I think Rodgers, 250 and 2 is like totally within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I would, if it was in a place where I could gamble, I would be smashing the under on this. I think it could be like a 20-17 type of game, But yeah, on the Bills side, what are you looking for there as we talk about our last team?
Mostly Dalton Kincaid. Like, is he actually being used as a receiver? Like I feel like we, the fantasy community in general, like falls for that. Like every year, it's like, oh, like it doesn't matter that they drafted this guy as a running back; they're going to use him as a receiver. Like it doesn't matter if he's a tight end; he's actually a receiver. Oh, Dalton Kincaid, like he's not that good at blocking. That means they're only going to use him for a pass catcher. It's kind of like, all right. Like, let's actually see, like, how it works, Like, we've been searching for someone, like, outside of Stephon Diggs, like, from this offense that's a little bit more reliable. Like, we get flashes of Singletary in the past, flashes of Gabe Davis, Cole Beasley a couple of seasons ago. It's just kind of like, is there anything like more reliable? Like we're looking for James Cook just to be a solid RB2, with RB1 upside, like especially like if he does get some touchdowns. But I don't know. I think Dalton Kincaid is kind of like the big story here. Like, let's see, is he actually just a tight end? Like he was actually like at like the position, like is he the position that he was drafted to be, or is he something else? Like everyone wants him to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and that being said, you're not starting in week 1. Like you just can't. Like you got to see it. Like you said, we need to see it. You're starting Allen. You're starting Diggs. James Cook. The way I look at it, I mean, this Jets defense, like especially that defensive line, is like really nasty, really, really good. Where he's ranked, I'm basically taking everyone around him where he's ranked: Jamal Williams, Dotson, Mostert, probably Brian Robinson, Ayuk, Evans, Deontay, Kurt. Like he's ranked around all these guys. I'm probably taking, if you have that decision, I'm starting all those other guys. But if you look further down, like to like the Pickens, Gibson, Brandon Cooks, Marquise Brown range, like, and that's more where I'm starting James Cook, I think, over those guys. So I don't know if you kind of agree with that or.
I think that's pretty fair. Like he's a tough one to rank. Like just in general, like he is one of those big question marks. Because like he's one of those guys like we really want to be something that he just quite wasn't last year, and like we can make excuses and everything, and like we'll feel like geniuses, like if it's like, oh yeah, I totally saw this coming. But I feel like those things can totally like bite you in the ass like pretty easily too, because I mean like just some of the guys who's been taken around, it's kind of like you're definitely kind of like shooting for the moon a little bit more, taking them in like the 5th, 6th round, But I mean, I like the guy. I liked him coming out of college and stuff. I like the draft capital and everything. So
Yeah.
let's go, James Cook.
Yeah, and then Gabe Davis. I mean, we talked about it. I think I'm starting Gabe Davis over like the rookie receivers and stuff, and the question marks of potentially like Elijah Moore's and Nico Collins type of plays, or even Marquise Brown. Yeah, and kind of when it gets to like the Pittman range, Pittman, Deontay, Christian Kirk, I think I'm in on those guys a little bit more than Gabe Davis.
Yeah, Gabe Davis, he's such a hard guy to rank because he's on one of the best offenses in the NFL, and the dude only needs one play to make his entire week,
Yep.
But like, can you bet on that though? Like, love him in best ball, obviously, but yeah, he's tough. I definitely would take Deontay, Mike Evans. Who else did you mention? Christian Kirk. Yeah. Like, I would take those guys over him.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. We made it through week 1. I mean, the first few weeks are going to be very long until bye weeks start, but after that, it'll be a little easier. Yeah. Any last words, Brian, for the fantasy football week 1 hopes and dreams?
Just full on Bijan Robinson RB1 overall.
Yeah, I was disappointed I didn't fucking get him in our draft. Dad took him at 2 overall.
You got Christian McCaffrey at 6.
I know, that's true. I got McCaffrey at 6 for whatever reason. But Dad, all off season's like, oh, I want to see it, rookies. I got to see it, and then he freaking takes Bijan. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it'll be fun to see how this week goes, and we'll have a little bit more to talk about next week. So we appreciate it if you lasted this long, and we'll catch you guys next time.